Hello to the audience. We begin this story by grounding ourselves in the present moment, where everything circles back to Drew and the quiet but heavy tension surrounding him. What we are about to share is not presented as absolute truth, but rather as a combination of unofficial information, personal interpretation, and the collective speculation of the community that has been watching closely. We're standing at a point in the story where the past is no longer willing to stay buried, and where Drew, whether he wants to or not, is possibly on the brink of discovering what truly happened on that fateful night. From our perspective, the most important question right now is not who pulled the trigger, because many fans already believe they know the answer. The real question is when the truth will surface and what the consequences will be once it does. We suspect that Drew may soon piece together the fragments that have been scattered around him for so long. Memories, half-heard conversations, and subtle reactions from the people closest to him all seem to be pushing him in the same direction. Hypothetically, this realization could come suddenly, like a shock that leaves him reeling, or slowly, as an unavoidable conclusion he reaches after weeks of internal struggle. By now, the audience is likely aware of who targeted Drew that night. Yes, it was Willow. This fact alone reshapes everything we thought we understood about her character and her relationship with Drew. Willow, who has long been seen as gentle and morally grounded, is now carrying a secret that threatens to destroy not only her marriage, but also her sense of self. We believe Willow has gone to great lengths to bury this truth, convincing herself that silence is the only way to protect everyone involved. Yet secrets like this rarely stay hidden forever, especially in a place like Port Charles, where every whisper eventually turns into a storm. We think it is only a matter of time before this secret comes out. Whether through a slip of the tongue, an unexpected witness, or evidence that can no longer be ignored, the truth has a way of forcing its way into the light. Still, there's a possibility that Willow might escape the worst consequences. If she is lucky, and if circumstances align just right, she could make it through this ordeal without being officially condemned. After she is cleared, it may appear that she will no longer face charges for shooting Drew, regardless of the reasons behind her actions. Legally speaking, we understand that Willow would likely not be convicted. There are layers of context, emotional trauma, and mitigating circumstances that could work in her favor. The law often looks not only at what happened, but why it happened, and Willow's state of mind that night could play a crucial role. However, the legal system does not always align with moral truth, and that is where the story becomes even more unsettling. Because if Willow walks free, someone else may pay the price. We cannot ignore the growing fear that another person will be blamed for the shooting instead. More accurately, we suspect that someone may be wrongfully convicted for Drew's shooting, carrying a burden that was never meant to be theirs. We do not need to spell out the name for the audience, because most of you already sense where this is heading. The tragedy here is not just the act itself, but the ripple effect it creates, pulling innocent people into its wake. At this moment, based on our analysis, Kai and Trina are emerging as the focal point of the story. Their involvement may seem minor at first glance, but it is anything but insignificant. They have confirmed something crucial. The ringtone they heard that night belonged to Willow. They heard it clearly, unmistakably, echoing in the darkness during the exact window of time when the shooting occurred. This detail, small as it may seem, has the power to unravel everything. Kai and Trina's knowledge puts them in an impossible position. They are carrying information that could change lives, yet revealing it could also destroy their own. We believe they did not go to the police immediately because they were afraid. Not just afraid of the truth, but afraid of what would happen to them if they stepped forward. They were trespassing in Drew's home that night, and that fact alone opens them up to interrogation, suspicion, and possibly arrest. Most of the audience already understands this dilemma, and it is precisely this fear that has kept them silent. Instead of going to the authorities, Kai and Trina made a different choice. They decided to approach Alexis, Willow's lawyer. This decision speaks volumes about how trapped they feel. They're looking for protection, for guidance, and perhaps for a way to do the right thing without ruining their own lives. Choosing Alexis was not accidental. They see her as someone who understands the law, but also as someone who has her own complicated moral compass. What happens next is difficult to predict with certainty, but we have our own interpretations of how this situation could unfold. One possibility is that Alexis chooses to bury the truth, prioritizing her client above all else. She may decide that protecting Willow is worth the cost, even if it means allowing a lie to stand. This would not be the first time Alexis has had to make a morally questionable decision in the name of legal defense. At the same time, there's another path Alexis could take. She might work with Kai and Trina to warn Drew privately about what they know. This approach would keep the matter out of the legal system while still giving Drew the chance to understand what truly happened to him. Hypothetically, this would place the burden of choice squarely on Drew's shoulders, forcing him to decide what to do with the truth once he has it. If Drew learns that the person who shot him was his own wife, the emotional fallout would be immense. We imagine a moment where everything stops for him, where the noise of the world fades and all he can hear is his own heartbeat. Anger, betrayal, confusion, and love would collide all at once. Yet, based on what we know about Drew, it is entirely possible that he chooses silence. We think Drew may decide to keep the truth to himself. This would not come from weakness, but from love. Drew has always been deeply devoted to Willow, and that devotion may outweigh his need for justice. He could convince himself that forgiveness is the only way forward, that exposing Willow would only create more pain. In this scenario, Drew becomes a silent guardian of a truth that could destroy them both. Of course, we cannot say for certain that this is how events will unfold. There are too many variables, too many emotions involved. Drew could just as easily feel that forgiveness is impossible, that trust has been broken beyond repair. He might believe that the truth must come out, no matter the cost. We simply do not know. That uncertainty is what defines this storyline right now. We are dealing with possibilities, with what is likely, and with what could hypothetically happen if one decision goes one way instead of another. We are careful not to present our analysis as fact, because ultimately, the final direction of the story lies in the hands of the producers. As fans, and as storytellers reflecting on what we see, all we can do is wait. We watch the characters struggle, make mistakes, and face the consequences of choices that can never be undone. Drew's story, Willow's secret, Kai and Trina's fear, and Alexis's moral crossroads are all threads in a larger narrative that is still being woven. In the end, we are left with anticipation and tension. We know the truth is close, perhaps closer than any of the characters realize. Whether it brings healing or devastation remains to be seen. Until then, we, like the fans, can only hold onto our theories and wait for the story to reveal its next move.